You may remember our guest author this morning for her explosive best-selling book, Sex, Lies, Declassified and Sex, Lies and Stellenbosch. Well, author and feminist Eva Mazza is back with another racy page-turner titled Christine, A Tale of Love, Lies and Liberation. In this book, Eva pens the story of 24-year-old Christine and just how she realizes that unless she escapes her abusive husband, Lois, the marriage vow, till death do us part, might just become her reality. And Eva joins us now via Zoom to tell us more about this offering that is currently making big waves on the literary circuit. Now, Eva, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you, Simpi. Nice to be here.
Likewise, it's an absolute pleasure having you join us this morning. Now, this is your third book in 3 years, Eva. Tell us more about this novel, Christine, and what really inspired this book.
Okay, Christine actually was started just after I had written Sex, Lies and Stellenbosch. It hadn't been published yet, Sex, Lies and Stellenbosch, and I started this particular book. And I think it was inspired more by my children growing up, my two eldest, in quite a conservative situation where my one daughter came back and she said, you know, apparently if I sleep with men before I get married, I'm going to hell. Those kind of narratives were coming in to our household, and she was asking, "Am I Christian?" And I said, "Yes, you are Christian. You've been baptized." So these kind of things were starting to form, and also situations about choices. I always kind of like try to bring up my children thinking, listen, as long as you are proud of the choices that you make, they are the correct choices. So that's how it really started. It's so difficult to kind of like analyze how these stories begin.
Yeah, and to tell us more about the character of this chatterbox called Christine, who in my view is as real as the girl from Linden.
Well, yes, she is, and that's what I wanted to. That's why I think I did her in a first person, because I just wanted people to get her. Yeah. I wanted people to get her personality, her thinking processes, her thought processes, the fact that she was actually intelligent, and she had made this career choice that drove her mother insane. The fact that she chose hairdressing above a career at a university. I mean, that her mother just about died. And actually that's a little bit about my life, because I actually wanted to be a fashion buyer, and my parents had been working all their lives and they just wanted me to go to university. They said, you can study absolutely anything, please just go to university, which I did. I was quite compliant, so I went and studied drama. So I think, yeah. Okay.
Now, Eva, the book is set partly in Johannesburg and Amsterdam. Tell us more about the setting of this book.
I am originally from Johannesburg, and I grew up, as I said, I studied at Wits, so we spent a lot of time in Melville, Rocky Street, those kind of parts, and I'm very familiar with Johannesburg, and I wanted to get out of the whole Western Cape Stellenbosch scenario, because I had written Sex, Lies and Stellenbosch, which was set in the Western Cape and Stellenbosch. So and then Amsterdam kind of like represents challenging all your moral ideas and your norms, and particularly in the 90s, we had just come out of the 80s where there was complete shutdown. I mean, we weren't really exposed to music, to sex, to drugs, all of that. So Amsterdam was actually the setting that I chose, and it is one of my favorites.
And without giving much away the storyline, just paint a picture of Christine's escape from her abusive husband and all the way to Amsterdam, and just give us a glimpse of what becomes of her life when she lands in the city.
Okay, so she realizes that she's married to an abusive man. It only becomes really the realization hits her when she lands up in hospital. And I think, like most of abusive women, you are in denial. But I think this kind of like shakes her to the core. And she decides, okay, I wanted to travel. I felt quite stifled in the short time I was married. And it didn't ever seem like we were going to get out of this quite pedestrian relationship. So she basically goes to a travel agent, puts blindfolds herself and puts her pen on Amsterdam and lands close to Amsterdam, and this is where she lands. And she's very excited about it because she is a hairdresser, and her friend is friendly with somebody who will take her in at a price. Obviously, she will stay at a beautiful area in Amsterdam as a boarder. Yeah. And this particular guy, Martin, who she befriends, finds her a job at one of the top hotels in Amsterdam as a hairdresser, a hairstylist.
Now, in as much as this is a fun and a witty read, but I suppose it also explores some very pertinent female experiences. Just take us through some of these.
I think the biggest thing is relationships, sexual freedom, sexual choices, being independent, financially independent, becoming confident as a woman, and with the choices that you do make, realizing that even if things go pear-shaped, there should be a way to be able to escape them if you have some sort of independence, which obviously is job-wise, which is career-wise, that kind of thing. So you should always have that opening. There's not to say that you cannot be a stay-at-home mom, but you need to be able to, you need an out.
Sure.
You do.
Sure. And there's also an element of religion that pops up in this book. Just speak to us about how this aspect, relates to Christine's journey in this novel.
Well, as I said, my daughter's, this kind of narrative was happening with my first two, and actually gained traction when Trump came into power. So when I revisited Christine, we had the alt-right and Trump denouncing things like abortion and pro-choice, and somebody like Trump, people actually saying how religious and how fabulous he was, and that whole it just was so incongruous that people actually thought that this kind of man that absolutely exudes no love, no respect for color, for creed, for disabilities, for women, actually is given the title of a good man or a good person. So I actually wanted to explore that whole idea about, do you really have to proclaim that you're such a great Christian or such a great Muslim or such a great Jew when you're not actually showing it? So that's what I was trying to do, that whole element of love coming through, and that actions speak louder than words.
And how have readers reacted to Christine and to seeing that it's not set up in Stellenbosch as your previous two books?
I think they've loved it. I think they really are waiting for the third book to come out. So those are my core readers I've had a lot of positive response from it. Right. So I'm very excited about it. It's been tough during lockdown to actually launch a book.
I would imagine.
And my publisher made a very difficult decision. She said, I would prefer to wait for the third book before we launch this one, but we went ahead and did it.
Okay. Eva, great chatting to you, and all the best. Thank you so much for joining us. And how do we get a copy of this book?
Well, it's everywhere. It's exclusive books, all bookstores, and you can get at takealot.com as well.
Okay,
so thank you.
Great stuff. Have a good day, Eva. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Well, that was our guest author this morning, Eva Mazza, and we've been discussing her latest page-turner titled Christine, A Tale of Love, Lies and Liberation.